Hi everyone, and welcome to The Sleepy Scientist. I'm really happy you're here. Tonight, we're going to go on a calm and quiet trip to learn something amazing. So get comfy, take a deep breath, and let's enjoy this peaceful science story together. Before we start, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from and what time is it for you right now? If you like relaxing science videos, don't forget to tap the like button. Now let's begin. The visitor came from a place without a name. It crossed the cold between suns, where there is almost nothing, where light takes years to travel, and time moves like a slow river under ice. We only saw it when it slipped into our sky, small against the dark, a grain of quiet in a sea of night. Some people called it 3I, the third of its kind we have found. Some called it Atlas, after the sky-bearer in old stories, as if it held a map of faraway places in its dusty skin. We did not know its true story, but we could listen. We could look with soft eyes. We could wonder. The visitor was like a stone with a memory. It kept the chill of the space between stars. It kept the gentle marks of tiny past touches, a particle here, a ray there, a whisper of heat once, long ago. When sunlight touched it, the light woke parts within. Ices breathed out, dust loosened, a faint halo grew around it, like the sigh of a sleeping thing. In that soft cloud, sunlight scattered and turned the dark shape into a blur, a smudge, a candle seen through fog. We asked, where did you come from? Maybe it was thrown from a cradle of worlds around some distant sun. Many infant systems are messy and rough. Planets pull on each other. Gravity tugs like tides. Now and then a small body gets a strong pull like a hand on a swing and it does not come back. It flies away, past the edge of its family, into the long night. It drifts for a shiz longer than any life on Earth. It crosses the spaces where stars are tiny points, and the distances are too large to picture, like trying to imagine all the sand grains on all the beaches at once. Our own home has its far places too. Around the sun there is a deep cloud of icy pieces, far beyond the planets. We think it formed when our system was young. We call it a cloud because it is spread out in all directions, a loose shell of countless seeds of comets. But what lies between those seeds and the nearest star is still more empty than any desert. In that emptiness, the visitor travelled, meeting almost nothing, feeling almost nothing except the slow pull of gravity from many stars at once. It was a patient journey. In that patience, a meaning grew. Things can last when they move slowly, and silence is a kind of strength. When it reached our sky, we used our tools to greet it. Telescopes on high hills, antennas that listen for radio light, mirrors that gather faint photons like raindrops in a bowl. We measured how it moved. We watched how its path curved, from out of the south or east, arcing around the sun like a quiet swimmer turning at the end of a pool and then heading out again. From its path we could tell it was not tied to the sun. It was not born here. Its speed was too high. Its path was open like a hyperbola, not a closed loop like most comets and asteroids. It came, it turned, and it would go. We asked, could it be more than rock and ice? Could it be made on purpose by hands we do not know or minds we cannot picture? The thought is old and new at once. People have looked up and asked, are we alone? Some imagine sails that ride on starlight, thin sheets pushed by photons like wind. Some imagine machines that sleep for ages, waking only when they feel the warmth of a star. Some imagine messengers that carry a simple hello, not in words but in patterns, a rhythm, a ratio, a repeating change in brightness that is too tidy to be a mistake. We held these thoughts like shells at the ear, We listened for the ocean inside them, but we also knew the quiet power of nature. Ice that warms will flow and puff and push. Dust jets can act like tiny engines, changing a comet's spin or path in small ways. Sunlight can push on uneven shapes. Heat can make cracks, and vapor can whistle from them like breath. These can look like signs, but they belong to the stone and the sun and the rules that guide all things. So we learned to ask gentle questions. We looked for patterns that are clear and steady. We searched for strange shapes that do not match the sciences we know. We tried to balance wonder with care, like a child on a log over a stream, arms out, smiling, but mindful of the water below. At night, when the visitor rose, people went outside and tilted their heads back. The sky was a lake of black glass. The visitor was a small smear, a feather mark. It did not shout, it did not blaze, but it had a way of slowing the heart. When you looked, you felt time widen. You felt the long path it had taken touch the short path of your own steps. The grass had dew. The air smelled of dust and leaves. Somewhere a dog barked once, and then the quiet returned. The comet, or the something like a comet, moved on, not caring if we named it or not. Scientists worked in rooms with soft lights and warm coffee. They wrote numbers in neat lines. They fit curves to those numbers. They tested if the visitor hid repeating signals. They asked if its tail was normal. Was the gas what we expect from ice of water, from carbon chains, from tiny bits of the simple solids made in cold places? They thought of the recipes of stars, the way they bake hydrogen into helium and dust into planets, and planets into places where water can sit in liquid lakes and remember sunlight. The visitor carried hints of these recipes, like crumbs on its surface, like frost on its edges. We thought about speed, we thought about shape, we thought about spin. If something is made, it may have flat faces, straight lines, exact angles. Nature can make those too sometimes in crystals and fractures, but most often nature loves curves and lumps. If something is made to travel, it might be light for its size, like a kite. It might turn in a way that keeps a steady face toward the light, as if it were steering. We searched the visitor for such signs. We found that sunlight nudged it, but sunlight nudges many small things. We found that gas jets could also explain tiny changes. We used the tools of patience and doubt. We did not slam the door on wonder. We did not swing it wide without a check. The idea of alien is a mirror. When we ask if a thing is alien, we are also asking who we are. The visitor helped us ask softly, if there are other minds, would they send a stone or a sail or a seed? Would they trust time to carry their hello? Would they write in ice where heat will blur the letters? Or would they write in spin, in the way a body flips once every so many hours like a clock in the dark? There are languages we do not know yet. There are many ways to say I am here. At dawn, the visitor faded into the bright. The sky turned pale like the inside of a shell. Birds took up their songs, thin at first, then wide and full. The world went about its day. Trucks rolled, keys clicked, children laughed. Yet somewhere a person at a window kept thinking of the thing between suns. They held a cup and watched steam rise like a tiny comet tail. They thought of the old seas of space. They thought of how salt stays in the sea even when the water moves. They thought of memory. Could a stone hold a memory of other suns? Could a speck of dust hold a taste of an ocean that is not ours? We told stories that did not make hard claims. We let phrases like "some think" and "others wonder" be bridges. We spoke of earlier visitors, One had been like a stretched chip, moving in a way that raised many questions. Another had been more like a regular comet, with a gas tail and a heart of ice. The new visitor, Atlas 3I, seemed to rest somewhere between the known and the strange. That is a quiet, beautiful place to rest. In that place, imagination can sit without shouting. It can place its bare feet in the cool stream of facts and let the water pass by. When you look at a comet, you're looking at old. You're looking at the first chapter of a solar system, sometimes even the dust from before planets formed. You're looking at time in a small body, time that has not melted and mixed. That is why comets are like libraries without words. Their pages are in the ices and in the dust and in the ratio of one kind of atom to another. If someone wanted to send a message across light years, maybe they would use the library form we already know. Maybe they would write in the balance of ice and stone, or in the shape of the path, or in a soft flicker, repeats every hour like a heartbeat. The visitor offered its pages and we turned them carefully with light. We also let ourselves think about kindness. If a far mind sent a thing here, would they hope we greet it with fear or with care? Would they hope we test it, yes, but also listen? Listening is a skill in science. To listen means to stay with the data long enough to hear what it says. It means not rushing to the first loud idea. It means letting quieter ideas have their time too. It means watching for the small bend in a line, the little drift in a period, the gentle mismatch between one model and what the sky shows us. The visitor taught us listening by simply being there. It gave us a chance to practice. There is a soft joy in thinking we are not alone. There is also a soft joy in seeing how far the natural world can reach without any mind besides the laws it follows. A snowflake falls. It shows a pattern that looks like design but is made by heat and water and air. A coral reef builds a city without a plan written on paper. A comet holds a shape and a path that look like choice but come from gravity, light and ice. These facts do not lessen the magic. They change the kind of magic. They ask us to see the world as a place where simple rules, repeated with patience, make wonder. At night again, the visitor hung lower. Its path had shifted as it turned around the sun. It would soon be on its way out. The halo was thinner. The dust was less bright. The newness of our questions did not fade, only deepened. Now we could ask with more care, if this is an alien thing, alien like a made craft, what would count as proof, not a feeling, not a hope? We would ask for a pattern too exact for chance. We would look for parts that repeat with a purpose, and we would search for shapes in the brightness that match a sail or a frame. We would ask, does it do something that helps it travel better, like turning broadside at the right times? We would also ask nature to show us her tricks, so we do not mistake them for signs of mind. We traced the visitor's colour. We measured how it reflected red light, blue light, infrared, ultraviolet. If it reflects in a way that matches known ices and dust, that leans toward nature, if it shows a strange mix, we pause, but we do not jump. Space weathers surfaces. Tiny blows from little bits can darken a skin. Rays can make bonds break and form. Even the faintest push of light can sort dust grains by size. The visitor's face was a map painted by time itself, and time is an artist with many tools. We also thought about silence. Many people look for radio waves that carry patterns. We pointed dishes into the sky and listened. We did not hear a hello, but silence is not a no. It can mean we looked in the wrong way, or at the wrong time, or with ears not yet careful enough. Or it can mean the visitor is only a comet after all, a natural thing carrying the news that space is busy and full, that worlds make and lose pieces like trees make and lose leaves. Still, the thought that it might be alien in the other sense, alien as in from another star, was already true. Alien does not only mean made by minds, it can mean from elsewhere. The visitor was alien like a seashell found in a mountain stream. It did not belong to our beach, but it was beautiful in our hand. If it said anything, it said that the galaxy shares. It throws and catches, it mixes and lends. There is a slow trade of stones and ice between the homes of many suns. That trade stitches the galaxy together. We pictured its home. Was it a red sun or a blue one? Was it part of a pair of suns that circle each other? Did it once pass near a planet with a wide ring? Did it skim the top of a cloud world and pick up a coat of frost? Did it sleep in the shadow of a giant for a while, drifting in a slow loop before a nudge set it free? The answers were hidden, but the questions were gentle blankets. They warmed the mind in the dark. People sometimes think science is all hard edges, but there is a quiet art to it. We make careful pictures of what we cannot touch. We let numbers tell a story. We teach our hearts to enjoy not knowing, the way a seed enjoys the dark before it sprouts. The visitor gave us this art. It stood at the edge of our understanding like a small lantern, not too bright, just enough to show we can walk a bit farther. We could take one more step and not stumble. If the visitor was alien in the deepest way, if it was made, then perhaps its makers love the same quiet. Perhaps they sent small things because small things can last. A light sail can fold, a stone can hide its message in its spin. A simple device can sleep for 1 billion years. If you want to talk across time, you choose a voice that does not tire. You choose a whisper. You let gravity carry it. You trust a patient path. In the end, the visitor taught us a tender rule: to hold two thoughts at once without tearing them. It could be a natural thing, a comet with quirks. It could be a made thing, a messenger with no words. We can follow both paths with care. We can compare them, we can test them. We can learn from both, and we can be at peace while the answer takes its time to arrive. The sky has waited for ages. We can wait for a season. Now the visitor tilted away. Its speed would take it past the reach of our best eyes. In a few weeks or months, it would slip back into the great quiet, carrying a thin layer of our light and a thin layer of our questions. Somewhere long from now, it may pass another sun, and another set of eyes may see it and wonder. In this way, the galaxy is a school with many classrooms. The same student walks from room to room, and each room writes a note in the margin of its book. Our note was small and kind. It said, "We saw you. We listened. We learned to be gentle with what we do not yet know." If you stand outside and look up tonight, you will not see the visitor with bare eyes, but you can still feel it. You can feel the long line it traced through our sky, like a finger through dust on a windowsill. You can think of ice that carries memory. You can think of sunlight that writes letters on vapor. You can think of time thick as honey, pouring from one star to another, and you can breathe slowly with the night. The world will turn, the stars will rise, the visitor will go on, but the soft question it left behind will remain with you, gentle as a lullaby, simple as a heartbeat. What if? When we speak of a traveller between stars, we must also speak of the endless fabric it crosses. Space is not empty, not in the way we think of an empty room. It holds fields and dust, waves and winds, whispers of particles that flow like invisible rivers. In that soft darkness, our visitor moved for millions, perhaps billions of years. Each mile was another heartbeat of the galaxy, slow and patient, almost unmeasured. It carried with it the chemistry of its first home, the tiny imprints of starlight, the frozen record of ancient collisions. To look at it was to hold a piece of time outside our own story. The idea of alien can live in many layers. There is alien as from another place. The visitor was alien in that sense, truly not of this solar family, not of these planets or these rings or these clouds. Then there is alien as from another mind. We wondered if this stone and dust, this comet-like shape, had been touched by a will. Did it bear symmetry too precise, a balance too exact, a motion too purposeful? Some argued that its spin was strange, that its brightening was uneven, that it turned like a shard catching wind. Others saw only natural rules at work, subtle forces of sunlight and sublimation. Both views were like two eyes. Together they gave depth. To deepen the story, we look at the sciences that explain such wanderers. A comet is a fragile body. Its heart is ice, water frozen harder than granite, but it also holds carbon ices, methane, ammonia, frozen gas that only the deep cold can keep. Mixed into that are grains of rock, crumbs of ancient dust left from the cloud that made its star. Over eons, cosmic rays strike it, carving bonds, creating new molecules on its surface. In this way, a comet is a chemistry set drifting in the dark, slowly writing its experiments. The visitor too held such experiments, and as it neared our sun, the warmth unsealed them. Gases rose like a sigh, dust sparkled like snow. Through this, we saw hints of its inner recipe. We thought of amino acids, the small chains that are the alphabet of life. On comets before, traces of these have been found. If life began in oceans, comets may have been the carriers of its letters, seeding Earth with the first soft codes. The visitor might carry similar seeds. Perhaps its dust is rich with carbon chains, with molecules that can link and fold. To imagine this is to imagine that life is not local, not bound to one blue planet, but scattered like pollen through the galaxy. If so, each comet is both a stone and a book, both frozen and alive in its potential. And 3i/Atlas could be one such book, written in a script of atoms, read only when warmed by starlight. Scientists held this thought with care. They remembered missions that touched comets like Rosetta, which dropped a lander onto a tumbling world of ice. That lander, Philae, listened and measured. It told us that comets are porous, their insides more void than solid. They are like sponges of ice and dust, fragile enough to crack, yet ancient enough to endure. If Atlas is like this, then it is a sponge that soaked up the history of another star. To place it in our telescopes was to squeeze it gently and watch what dripped out. Light, spectra, faint gases, the silent syllables of another place. There is a tenderness in knowing we may never hold it. It came fast, and it will leave fast. Unlike planets, unlike moons, it does not circle back. Its orbit is hyperbolic, open-ended, like a path traced on water that leads away forever. That means our questions must be asked in the window of months, then closed. Some answers we will never have, but that too is science. the art of living with partial truths, of carrying questions like lanterns, even when their light does not reach the end of the path. In the visitor's case, the light was enough to show us how wide the cosmos is, and how small our knowing still remains. Now imagine standing beneath a night sky with this in mind. You see a faint glow, barely more than a star smeared. You know that glow has crossed distances we cannot count without numbers too large to feel. You know inside that glow are atoms that were formed in the belly of a giant star long dead. You know those atoms have rested, untouched, for ages beyond measure, and only now, in this raw sweep through our sky, do they awaken into vapour and light. To see this is to feel your own life shrink and expand at once. Shrink because you are small compared to the ages. Expand because your mind can hold the ages inside it, even if only as wonder. Atlas was not the first. Before it, we saw another interstellar visitor, a long shard called Oumuamua. That one was stranger, with no bright coma, no tail, yet it moved in ways we struggled to explain. Some suggested it was a shard of rock, others a sheet of ice, others even a sail. It spun, it darkened, it sped up slightly without clear jets of gas. Its story remains unsolved. Now, with Atlas, we had another chance. 2 points begin to form a line. If one alien body is found, maybe it is rare. If 2 are found in short years, maybe they are common. Perhaps our galaxy is full of such travellers, crossing unseen, each one a seed, a message, or simply a stone adrift. This thought carries a quiet excitement. It means our solar system is not sealed. It is not an island cut off. It is a bay on an ocean, and ships pass by. Some leave driftwood, some leave shells, some leave nothing but the ripple of their wake. When we catch one, we glimpse the larger sea, and that glimpse can reshape how we see our own home. If comets bring molecules, if they cross from star to star, then perhaps planets are not so separate. Perhaps life, if it sparks in one place, can leap across the dark by such carriers. Perhaps the story of the galaxy is a shared one, a net of exchanges we only now begin to sense. But what if the visitor was more? What if the alien was not just its origin, but its intent? To think this is not foolish, though it requires care. We ask, what signs would make us think it was built? A steady beacon of light? A narrow band of radio signal? A rotation too precise, repeating like a clock? We searched for these. We found only silence and softness. But silence can be a kind of language. Maybe the message is not "here is a code." Maybe the message is "see how far a small thing can go, see how much a fragment can endure." In that sense, Atlas speaks without words, and the galaxy listens. In the language of physics, nothing truly rests. Every particle hums, every orbit is a song of gravity. Every photon is a footstep of light. The visitor hummed too, not in sound, but in the rhythm of its turning, the whisper of its outgassing, the arc of its motion. These were its verses, soft and slow. To read them was to sit beside a stranger who does not speak your tongue, yet hums a melody you can feel. You do not know the meaning, but you know it has one. And in that knowing, you are linked. Let's drift deeper into its chemistry. Spectroscopy showed faint lines, oxygen, carbon, traces of simple molecules, nothing that screamed of machines, nothing that shouted of engines, but still, there was subtlety. Ratios told of long exposure to cosmic rays. Isotopes hinted at a birthplace colder than ours, richer in deuterium, the heavy brother of hydrogen. These are fingerprints of distance. They are clues that this visitor began far away, under a different sun's cradle, in a nursery cloud not our own. That knowledge alone is a gift, proof that we can sample the wider galaxy without leaving our planet, simply by catching what drifts into our reach. Some evenings, scientists shared images with the public, a pale smudge framed by stars. Many saw nothing special, but those who paused, those who lingered, began to sense the weight of it. This was not just a comet, it was a shard of elsewhere. It was matter that had no reason to meet us, yet did. That chance meeting is a reminder of how vast randomness is, and how meaning can rise from it like mist from a pond. You cannot force such encounters. You can only be ready to notice them when they come. And in this noticing, we feel a softness toward the unknown. The visitor asked nothing of us. It did not stay, did not circle, did not repeat. It was a brush of wings on a shoulder, a presence gone almost before it was felt. Yet we learned from it. We learned patience. We learned humility. We learned to see our own questions reflected back at us, simple and deep. Who else is out there, and what shapes does their hello take? The galaxy is full of wanderers. Most will never touch us, but some will. Each one is a chance to listen again, to listen better, to refine what we call proof, and to let mystery remain beautiful even when unanswered. Atlas gave us this lesson. It taught us that the word alien does not need fear, nor fantasy. It can mean simply gently from another star, carrying another sky within it. And so, as Atlas curved past the sun and began its long escape, we folded our notes, saved our data, and turned our eyes once more to the wider dark. The visitor was leaving, but the questions it carried stayed. They are now part of our own orbit, circling our minds, bright as a small halo in the night. One day, another visitor will come, and we will be ready to ask again and to listen again, with ears more tender and hearts more open. The visitor was not ours to keep, yet in the quiet of its departure, it left something within us. As 3/Atlas drifted outward, past the warmth of our star, its halo dimmed, its tail thinned, until it was only a faint spark receding into the ocean of night. But in its fading, a truth lingered. We had touched, however briefly, the broader galaxy, not with ships, not with sails, but with our gaze and our questions. In that gaze, we grew. In those questions, we found new shapes for wonder. Sometimes a meeting is not about what it gives in proof, but what it stirs in silence. Atlas was such a meeting, a whisper across the void. Imagine the stone in its long voyage now. It will carry on, past the outer planets, past the edge of the Oort cloud, past the magnetic field that wraps our system like a shell. Beyond that, the winds of other stars drift, carrying their own whispers. Out there, gravity threads tug from many suns at once, weaving paths that bend and curl across millions of years. Atlas will ride those threads. It may one day pass close to another sun, falling briefly into its glow before continuing on. In that journey it may be seen again. Another set of eyes on another world may raise their instruments and wonder, just as we did. What is this stranger? And from where does it come? In this way, Atlas becomes a bridge, Not a bridge of steel or stone, but of shared curiosity. It links minds separated by light years and centuries, minds that may never meet, but that ask the same gentle question when the same object passes through their skies. This thought softens the idea of loneliness. The galaxy is vast, but the same wanderers brush past many shores. Each one is a thread in a quiet tapestry. To notice it is to see that we are stitched into a wider whole, even if the stitching is faint, even if the pattern is not yet clear. Our instruments traced its retreat, and the numbers fell into smaller curves, dimmer lines. The last signals were like echoes in a canyon, fading but still carrying shape. With them, scientists wrote their papers, debated their models, asked if sunlight alone explained its drift, or if something else, something unmeasured, lent a push. The debates were not battles, but murmurs, each voice adding a shade. Some leaned toward jets of gas, faint but steady. Others saw in its motion a mystery unresolved. Yet the tone was calm, for the sky had taught us patience. Answers may take years, or may never settle. That does not weaken the wonder, it sharpens it. We might think of the visitor as a kind of mirror. When we looked at it, we saw not just ice and dust, but our own hunger to connect, our own hope for company in the night. Some saw alien craft, some saw natural comet, and both saw longing. That longing is not weakness. It is the song of a species that grew under stars and still looks to them for kinship. In every age, in every land, people have told stories of lights in the sky, of beings from beyond. Now, with telescopes and spectra, the stories change their shapes, but the pulse beneath them is the same. Atlas showed us that science and myth are not enemies. Both are ways of holding wonder. Both are ways of listening. As its trail faded, nights grew empty again. No smudge in the sky, no visitor to follow. But absence has its lessons too. It teaches us to notice what remains, the familiar arc of planets, the steady wash of the Milky Way, the meteors that streak like brief letters written in fire. These are not less precious because they are common. In fact, they are more so. The visitors leaving reminded us that our sky, constant, is also alive. It receives guests. It lets them hui. It is not a static dome, but a moving sea, and we are small boats upon it, learning the waves. In dreams, some pictured Atlas as a messenger not of words, but of presence. It did not need to signal. Its arrival itself was a message. The galaxy is not empty of exchange. Pieces move, stories travel, strangers pass by. This is enough to change the feeling of isolation. If stones can cross, perhaps ideas can too. If dust can wander, perhaps life can find a way, not in our short span, but in the deep time the universe prefers. This thought is not urgent. It is not loud. It is as calm as the slow drift of the visitor itself. Yet it brings a quiet warmth, a sense of belonging to something wide. Now, when we speak of 3i/Atlas, we do not speak only of its chemistry or orbit. We speak of what it gave us, the chance to practice awe. Awe is a skill, like patience, like listening. It is the art of standing before the unknown without rushing to close it. It is the courage to let mystery remain mystery, to let it breathe. The visitor was a teacher in this. It asked us to sit with maybes, to rest in might-bes, to love the gentle weight of not knowing. In a world where answers are sought so quickly, this was a gift rare and needed. The stars wheel on, seasons turn, and Atlas is now far beyond our reach. But in a way, it has not gone. It lingers in our minds, in the way we tell stories of the night, in the way we look at faint streaks and wonder if they too are strangers passing by. It lingers in our science, shaping the next time we notice a body on a hyperbolic path. It lingers in our quiet hours, when we think of the galaxy not as cold and distant, but as softly interconnected. A web of wanderers, a chorus of silences, a place where every so often a visitor brushes close enough to remind us we are part of this vastness. So let the story close gently. The visitor is gone, but the sky remains. Above you tonight, the stars will glow as they always have. Somewhere out there, Atlas moves on, carrying a thin veil of sunlight it once borrowed from our star, carrying the mark of our instruments, the trace of our questions. Perhaps, long from now, another world will add its gaze to that trace. Perhaps, in ways we cannot know, we are already connected through this shared act of wonder. And if so, then Atlas was never alien at all. It was family, distant and passing, but kin in the great story of the cosmos. Let the last thought be simple. The sky is not silent, even when it says nothing. Every faint traveller is a sentence, every comet is a word, every star is a pause. Atlas was one such word spoken softly, carried across unimaginable time, and briefly heard by us. We may never know its full meaning, but we heard it, and in hearing we were changed. A comet is not only a body of ice and dust, it is a memory wrapped in motion, a thread pulled from the loom of creation. When we give it a name, when we call it Atlas, or Hale-Bopp, or Enka, we are not only naming an object in the sky, we are naming a story that stretches across billions of years, a frozen whisper that carries the chemistry of beginnings. To watch a comet glide through the night is to see time itself, compacted into a fragile traveller that unravels slowly as sunlight touches it. And in that unravelling lies a kind of language, a code written in vapour and light. This language is not like ours, not letters on a page or words on a screen. It is in the way ice sighs when warmed, in the way tails curve under solar wind, in the faint glow of gases released as though a breath too long held finally escapes. Comets speak in spectra, lines of light that tell us what atoms dance within their halos. They speak in arcs, the curve of their orbits carved by gravity, each path a sentence in the story of the solar system. They speak in silence too, in their fragility, in the way they fracture and fade, reminding us that every message has an end. When Atlas came, it joined this chorus. Scientists turned their instruments to it and read its speech as carefully as monks once read fading scripts on old parchment. They saw oxygen, carbon, faint lines of cyanide, tiny marks of ammonia, methane and dust. Each of these was a word, not in our tongue but in the tongue of chemistry. Together they told of a birthplace far colder than Earth, a place where the building blocks of worlds lay dormant. In those words there was no deception, only truth carved by time. To hear them was to remember that the cosmos speaks, if we learn how to listen. But listening is not only for scientists. Anyone who steps outside on a clear night, who tilts their head back and sees the arc of a comet, hears something. It may not be the language of isotopes or spectra, but it is the language of awe. The long trail across the dark, faint and steady is like a line of poetry written across the heavens. You feel it more than you know it. It says, "You are small and that is beautiful." It says, "You are fleeting and that is part of the song." In that moment, you and the comet are kin, both travellers, both brief, both luminous in the right light. Let us drift deeper into how comets carry meaning. Long ago people feared them. They were omens, harbingers of change. Their sudden appearances in the sky tied to wars, famines, deaths of kings. In those days their language was read as warning, but over centuries as science grew their language changed in our ears. We learned that comets are not curses, but carriers. They carry water, perhaps the water that once fell as rain upon the newborn earth. They carry organics, seeds of life scattered across the cosmos. They carry history, older than mountains, older than oceans. And so the same streak that once inspired dread now inspires curiosity, tenderness, wonder. Atlas itself taught us both. At first, its brightness grew fast, too fast, as if it would blaze as one of the great comets of history, lighting nights with a tail visible even to city dwellers. People hoped, quietly, to witness such splendour. But as it neared the sun, it broke apart, crumbling into fragments, its light fading, its promise dissolving. Some were disappointed. Yet even in its shattering, Atlas spoke. Its breaking was part of its language. It said, "Fragility is not failure." It said, "Beauty can exist even when brief." In its dust, scattered into silence, we found a softer kind of meaning, one that does not demand brilliance to be remembered. When we follow a comet's path, we are following grammar older than Earth itself. Gravity pulls, sunlight pushes, ice releases vapour in jets that nudge a body this way and that. These are punctuation marks in its journey, pauses and turns that shape its story. We read them with equations, with models that predict arcs and tails. But beneath the numbers there is rhythm. The rhythm of returns for periodic comets, the rhythm of departures for those on open paths. Some comets are like recurring verses, returning every decade, every century. Others are like single lines, spoken once, then gone forever. Atlas was one of these single lines, a phrase uttered only once in our hearing. The beauty of this cosmic language is that it asks nothing. It is not a language designed to persuade or argue. It is simply an unfolding of what is. Yet in hearing it, we are changed. We begin to see that the universe is not silent, that it speaks constantly in forms too vast, too slow, or too subtle for quick ears. Comets are among the clearest of these voices, for they leave visible marks. They paint across the sky. They scatter dust that rains upon us as meteors, fleeting sparks that fall into our dreams. To hear this language is to remember that the cosmos is always in dialogue, and we are always invited to listen. And so, as Atlas faded, its message lingered. It told us that not all comets burn bright. Some whisper, some crumble, some leave only traces, but every comet, no matter how faint, adds a line to the great poem of the sky. Each one reminds us that creation is ongoing, that destruction is part of beauty, that endings are woven into beginnings. If we can learn to listen not only with instruments but with patience, then each comet becomes not only a body but a voice. And in that voice the universe speaks of its own wonder. The language of comets deepens the more we study them, for each layer of ice and dust is a syllable in the oldest story ever told. Atlas, though fragile, joined this chorus with a voice of its own. When its brightness first rose, when its tail grew wide, astronomers thought it might rival the legendary comets of the past. Yet the cosmos has its own pace, its own rhythm of speech. The sudden flare was followed by fracture, the song breaking into many quieter notes as the comet split apart. But even in breaking there is poetry. A shattered comet is still a teacher, still a word in the great sentence of the universe. Its fragments scatter meaning across the dark like syllables spread on the wind. To read a comet is to read with light. Telescopes gather the faint glow of atoms released from its ice. Each atom absorbs and emits light in patterns, thin lines etched across a spectrum. When scientists read these lines, they are reading words in a chemical language. Hydrogen speaks of water ice, oxygen of its breath, carbon chains of ancient chemistry born in molecular clouds. Ammonia, methane, and carbon dioxide whisper of the cold wombs where such bodies formed. Even the ratio of isotopes, heavy to light, tells a dialect. Was this comet born closer to a star or farther away in the wide, dark beyond? Atlas carried such lines, and though brief, they told us of deep cold and long journeys. But comets speak in more than chemistry. They speak in orbits, in the arcs carved through gravity's field. Periodic comets return like recurring refrains, Halley's song repeating every 76 years. A verse the Earth has read across generations. Long-period comets arrive less often, their voices stretched thin across millennia, sometimes too faint for humans ever to hear twice. And then there are the interstellar ones, the rarest voices of all, who sing only once in our sky before vanishing forever. Oumuamua was such a voice, strange and sharp, its words brief and unresolved. Atlas followed, softer, more fragile, its song one of crumbling and fading. Together they form a dialogue, the galaxy itself speaking, saying, "You are not alone. The stars share their fragments." This dialogue reaches back into Earth's own story. Billions of years ago, our young world was dry and molten. Then comets came. They bombarded the surface, their icy cargo falling as rain. They seeded oceans, they seeded clouds, they brought the simple molecules that in time formed cells, then life. In this way, comets were the first storytellers on Earth, speaking not in words but in water. Every drop you drink may hold atoms once carried by a comet, once drifting in the dark before falling into a newborn sea. To study Atlas was to study a cousin of those ancient visitors, to hold in the mind the memory of water and life itself. But if comets carry life's letters, they also carry reminders of its fragility. Atlas broke apart as it neared the sun, undone by the heat that once kept it alive. Its disintegration was not failure, but a continuation of its language. For a comet, to approach the sun is to speak more loudly, to let its frozen words burst forth in light. Yet sometimes the voice cracks, the syllables scatter. In Atlas's fading, we were reminded that beauty often comes with brevity, that fragility itself is a kind of message. A comet does not last forever, neither do we. But in the moment of shining, both leave trails that linger in memory. There is also a language of poems in comets. Not every fragment can be seen, not every gas can be measured. Often they fade into invisibility, their speech unfinished. This too is part of the dialogue. Silence says, "There is more than you can know." Silence says, "Wonder remains beyond the reach of your instruments." For some, this silence feels like loss. For others, it feels like invitation, a reminder that the universe always keeps some secrets, that mystery itself is part of the music. Atlas gave us both sound and silence, both data and absence. And in the balance of the two, we heard a fuller song. The ancients once believed comets foretold change, and in a way they were right. Not in curses or blessings, but in the quiet reminder that the sky is alive, that it shifts and moves, that we are part of something in motion. Every comet that appears changes us a little, reshaping how we see our place beneath the stars. Atlas, though brief, changed us too. It reminded us that even the smallest body, even the faintest visitor, carries the language of the cosmos. And to pause, to listen, to marvel at that language is to take part in the great dialogue ourselves. Now, imagine the dust of Atlas, scattered and drifting. Each grain will continue its path, circling the sun or moving outward, falling into new orbits shaped by the unseen tides. Some grains may one day burn in Earth's atmosphere, streaking across the night as meteors. If so, they will finish their language not as a comet's glow, but as sparks in our sky. Each meteor is a final word, a last syllable of a sentence begun long ago, and we, standing beneath, will be readers once more, listening to the universe as it speaks in fire. This is the gift of comets. They remind us that the cosmos has always been speaking. In their bright arrivals, in their quiet departures, in their fragments and their silences, they weave a language that does not end. Atlas's voice has faded now, but it is not gone. It is part of the cosmic archive, part of the poem written across eons, waiting for those who know how to listen. The story of Atlas closes not with a blaze, but with a whisper. It is easy to think of comets as spectacles, their tails stretched wide across the sky, their brilliance commanding attention. Yet Atlas chose another path. Its final language was one of fading, of fragments drifting into silence, and in this, it gave us a deeper kind of meaning. For language is not always loud. Sometimes it is a murmur, sometimes it is a pause. Sometimes the most powerful message is carried in the act of disappearing, leaving only memory behind. Atlas taught us that even the faintest of voices can echo across the human heart. As its fragments dissolved, telescopes followed the scattering dust. The trail it left was no longer the clear line of a single body, but a cloud, soft and uncertain, blurred at the edges. Yet this too was a kind of text, written in the grammar of impermanence. It said, "Nothing lasts unchanged." It said, "Beauty is not diminished by its ending." The particles that once formed its shining core will now drift for centuries, circling the sun, crossing paths with planets, perhaps falling into atmospheres as fleeting sparks. Each spark will be a syllable, a continuation of its story. In this way, the language of Atlas will not end, it will transform. This transformation is part of a larger chorus. Every comet that crumbles, every fragment that scatters, enriches the solar system. Dust settles into interplanetary space, creating trails that Earth later passes through as meteor showers. These showers are the visible remnants of old comets, the way the night sky remembers them long after their bodies have gone. In this way, Atlas may one day be remembered as a rain of light, soft and brief, streaking across midnight skies centuries from now. Perhaps a child will watch those meteors fall and wonder about the comet that gave them. In that wondering, Atlas will speak again. The language of comets is not only about chemistry and orbits, it's also about connection. They remind us that the cosmos is not separate from us, that what drifts through the sky eventually falls into our world. Water, dust, organics, all carried across eons, delivered into oceans, into soil, into life. The very cells of our bodies may hold atoms once carried by comets long ago. In this sense, comets do not merely speak, they sing within us. Atlas too may have added a note to this song, its dust mingling with ours, its particles becoming part of the long chain that ties the stars to our own veins. To close the story of Atlas is to reflect on what comets mean to human hearts. They are reminders of time's vastness, yet also of its intimacy. They move on scales we cannot imagine, yet they touch our nights, our eyes, our lives. They are ancient and fragile, immense and fleeting, distant and personal. Atlas was all of these at once. Though it did not become the grand spectacle some hoped for, it became something gentler, perhaps more profound. It became a teacher of humility, showing us that expectation is not the same as truth, that even in quiet endings there is wonder to be found. Think of Atlas now, beyond sight, its remnants carried outward, dissolving into the wider dark. It will not return, it will not be ours to see again. Yet it has already entered us, not in fragments of dust, but in memory and meaning. We carry it in our thoughts, in the way we now look at comets as voices, not omens. We carry it in the way we understand fragility as beauty, not weakness. We carry it in the silence it left, a silence that asks us to listen more deeply, not just to comets, but to the whole sky. For the cosmos is always speaking. Every photon from a star, every wave of gravity, every drifting stone is part of its endless poem. Atlas was one verse in that poem, brief but tender, written across our night. Its fading reminds us that the universe is not static, that it is a living conversation of creation and dissolution. To be alive beneath such a sky is to be part of that conversation, to read its words with our senses, to answer with our wonder. Atlas has passed on, but the dialogue continues. So let the closing thought be soft. Language does not end with silence. It lingers, it transforms, it echoes. The fragments of Atlas may never be seen again, but their meaning is already here, in us, in the way we dream of comets, in the way we look up and listen. Every comet is a word in the sky's poem. Atlas was one such word, fragile and fleeting, but spoken with grace, and now it is part of us, part of the long story we share with the stars. Dust is the smallest of things, yet it carries the largest of stories. A single grain of cosmic dust, lighter than a breath, can hold within it the history of stars, the memory of collisions, the chemistry of life itself. When we think of Alien, we often imagine towering structures or signals sent across the void. But perhaps the truest alien messengers are the faintest, tiny specks adrift in darkness, crossing gulfs of space for millions of years before settling softly into new skies. In the story of comets like Atlas, dust is not a byproduct. Dust is the message itself. Imagine a comet nearing the sun. Heat stirs ancient ices and vapour lifts into space. In that lifting, dust is freed. Microscopic shards of rock, carbon chains, silicates, frozen molecules. Each grain drifts into the comet's glowing tail, carried by solar wind, pushed outward by light. To our eyes, it becomes a shimmer, a glow stretched across the night. But to instruments, to microscopes and spectrographs, it is far more, a library written in particles. Every grain is a page, every page a record of conditions from the dawn of worlds. And when comets crumble, as Atlas did, they release their libraries into the sky, scattering pages for anyone willing to read. Scientists study cosmic dust with patient care. They catch it in high-flying planes, in delicate collectors that trap particles as they fall through Earth's atmosphere. They study it in Antarctic ice, where grains that drifted for thousands of years now rest, preserved like fossils. They even bring it back from space, as with the Stardust mission, which returned dust from a comet to Earth. In those tiny grains, they find amino acids, complex organics, crystalline structures formed in the heat of stars. They find isotopes that tell of faraway birthplaces, elements forged in supernovae long before the sun was born. Dust, in its silence, tells us that our world is not isolated. It is part of a galactic cycle of creation and return. Atlas offered dust as well, though its life was brief. As it fragmented, clouds of fine particles drifted outward, some visible in telescopes as faint halos, some too small to be seen. These grains now orbit the sun, part of streams that may one day cross Earth's path. If so, they will fall as meteors, tiny sparks in the night. Each spark will be the last breath of a grain that once travelled between stars. To see such a spark is to witness the echo of alien dust, the end of a journey that began in darkness, continued in a comet's heart, and finished in a moment's glow above our heads. But alien dust is not only cometary, it is also interstellar, drifting freely between stars. Spacecraft like Ulysses and Cassini have detected such grains entering our solar system, tiny travellers moving faster than local dust, on paths that reveal their origins outside the sun's influence. These particles are true strangers, formed in the winds of dying stars, blown outward by supernova shockwaves, wandering for eons before crossing our skies. They are as old as time itself, yet they touch our world. Each one is a reminder that Earth is not closed. It breathes in the dust of other suns, just as it breathes out its own into the galaxy. When we think of alien, we must learn to think small. Not vast ships, not towering monuments, but grains of matter that carry with them alien chemistry. What could be more alien than an atom forged in a star we have never seen, now resting in the palm of our hand? What could be more wondrous than the thought that some of the particles in our own bodies were once drifting through space, waiting to join Earth's soil, waiting to become part of us? Alien dust is not far away. It is here, within us, in every breath, in every cell, in every spark of life that arose from cosmic seed. There is poetry in knowing that our world is coated in such echoes. Every raindrop that falls, every patch of slums or soil, every glint of starlight in ice or rock may hold traces of dust older than Earth itself. The ground we walk on is layered with alien memory. The water we drink carries atoms from distant skies. The air we breathe holds particles that once drifted between stars. When comets like Atlas bring their dust, they are not simply visitors. They are reminders that we are already woven into the galaxy, that our lives are stitched from threads far older than we can imagine. So let us begin this story of alien dust, not with fear, not with longing, but with gratitude. The cosmos does not send us messages in words. It sends us dust, carried across time, delivered gently to our world. Each grain is a quiet hello, a reminder that we are not apart but a part, not separate but connected. And in listening to these echoes, we find not only knowledge but comfort, the sense that we belong to the same story that comets, stars, and galaxies have been telling since the first light broke the dark. Dust does not shout its story, it whispers. Each particle carries within it patterns of atoms, alignments of crystals, the faint scars of radiation. To a hurried glance, it is nothing, too small to notice, too light to matter. Yet when we listen patiently, when we study each grain under microscopes, when we place its spectra against the light of the sun, it becomes a language. It is the language of time itself, spoken not in words but in the arrangement of matter. Atlas, when it fractured, gave us a new scattering of such whispers, fresh pages from the oldest of books, drifting across the solar wind. Some grains are spheres, smooth and glassy, born in the fire of stars where silicates condensed and cooled. Others are jagged, fractured, carbon-rich, shaped in the cold nurseries of molecular clouds. Still others carry water-locked in minerals or traces of organic molecules that hint at the chemistry of life. To hold one in a laboratory is to hold a relic from before Earth existed. It is to hold the raw material of planets, preserved in miniature. These grains are archives. They tell us of the violent births of stars, the slow gathering of gas into disks, the collisions that shape worlds. They tell us of the galaxy's restless cycles, where nothing is wasted, where even destruction becomes creation. Alien dust does more than tell us of origins. It tells us of connections. Consider this: when a comet sheds its tail, the dust it leaves drifts on. Some of it falls toward Earth, entering the atmosphere at high speeds, igniting in streaks of light. When you see a meteor shower, you are seeing cometary dust finishing its journey. The Perseids come from swift Tuttle, the Geminids from the shattered body of Phaethon. Each streak is the end of a grain's long path, begun in darkness, completed in a moment's blaze. If Atlas's dust crosses Earth one day, its meteors will be new words in the sky's language, tiny sparks spelling the story of an alien wanderer who once visited. But dust does not need fire to be heard. Some grains settle gently, slowed by air, drifting onto rooftops, into oceans, onto fields. They become part of soil, part of sediment, part of us. Studies of deep ice cores in Antarctica have revealed such particles trapped and preserved for thousands of years. They are visitors from space resting beside Earth's own dust, blending into its story. To study them is to find fingerprints of distant stars on our own world. And in knowing this, we feel less alone. The dust that formed elsewhere now shares our air, our seas, our lives. There is a tenderness in realizing that the atoms in our bodies once belonged to such grains. Carbon in our cells was forged in stars. Oxygen in our breath was carried in comets. Iron in our blood was cast from supernova. We are walking testaments to the journey of dust. Alien dust is not foreign. It is family. Atlas's fragments, now adrift, may one day join this cycle, their atoms mingling with ours. In that mingling, alien becomes intimate, distant becomes personal. The gulf between stars narrows when we realize we carry their dust in our veins. Some scientists imagine panspermia, the idea that life itself could travel on such grains. Shielded within dust or ice, microbes might survive the long dark between stars, slumbering until warmth wakes them on a new world. If true, then dust is not only a record but a vessel, carrying potential for life across the galaxy. It is a fragile idea, unproven, but it stirs wonder. What if Atlas carried such hidden seeds? What if every comet is not just chemistry but possibility, drifting libraries of life waiting to be opened? Even if untrue, the idea reflects a deeper truth, that the galaxy is generous, scattering its materials, letting worlds share in its abundance. Atlas, by breaking apart, gave us more dust than it would have otherwise. Though its light dimmed, its gift was multiplied. Its fragments will wander for ages, their trails spreading wider each year, and where, in silence, these trails will cross planets, moons, perhaps even be drawn into the atmospheres of distant worlds. A single grain may fall onto a barren surface, carrying all with it the chemistry of life. Perhaps it will change nothing, or perhaps it will wait, patient as only dust can be, until conditions shift and chemistry blooms again. In this way, dust is patient. It is the most enduring of storytellers, speaking across billions of years with no need for haste. When we hold dust in our hands, whether from earth or from the sky, we are holding continuity. We are touching the threads that tie galaxies to planets, planets to oceans, oceans to life. The echoes of alien dust are not faint. They are constant. They are in every meteor shower, every grain trapped in ice, every whisper of light through a telescope. To listen is to slow down, to let smallness reveal its richness. Atlas's dust now drifts beyond sight, but we know it is there, part of the great cloud of matter that binds us to the stars. Its echoes will continue long after we are gone, long after our world has changed, long after new listeners arise beneath new skies. And so, to sit with alien dust is to sit with time itself. It is to recognize that our lives, brief as they are built from ancient journeys. We are the children of dust, and the dust is not silent. It speaks in chemistry, in sparks of light, in the quiet patience of atoms, waiting to become part of something greater. Atlas has left us such echoes. All we need to do is listen. Dust is the gentlest of storytellers, yet it carries the grandest of truths. As Atlas broke apart and faded from our skies, what endured was not its brief glow, but the endless journey of its particles. They scatter now through the solar system, invisible most nights, waiting in silence to cross paths with worlds, to burn as meteors, to settle as grains upon some distant surface. Each speck is a syllable, each trail of dust a phrase. Together they form echoes, soft and lasting, of alien dust that will outlive us all. To sit with this thought is to recognize that meaning does not always reside in brilliance, but in persistence. When we think of echoes, we think of sound bouncing back from stone, carrying a voice into new places. Dust is like that echo, but instead of sound, it is matter itself reverberating across time. A supernova explodes, scattering heavy elements. A molecular cloud condenses, forming icy grains. A comet carries them through the dark until sunlight frees them into space again. Each stage is an echo of the one before, each still another voice added to the chorus. Atlas was one such echo, a link in the great chain of dust and light. Even though it has left us, the resonance of its presence continues in the particles it left behind. The resonance of alien dust is not only physical, it is also emotional. To know that grains drifting now through our skies were once part of a body formed around another star is to feel kinship with the galaxy. Collapse is distance. Suddenly, the gulf between suns is bridged not by imagination but by matter itself, real and tangible. Dust becomes the handshake between worlds, the quiet exchange of stories between stars. Atlas extended such a hand, and though fragile, it reached across light years, reminding us that we are part of something vast, something shared. For Earth, these echoes have always been part of its story. Every meteor shower is proof of it. Every glowing streak in the night is the last flare of a grain's long journey. When you watch a meteor fall, you are seeing a memory dissolve into light. That light touches your eyes, and in that instant, you share the final chapter of a story begun in a comet's icy heart, or in the furnace of a distant star. Atlas's dust may one day fall like this, brief and brilliant, turning suns into spectacle. Those who watch will not know the names, will not know the history, yet they will feel the awe. And that awe is the true echo passed from grain to eye, from cosmos to soul. But not all dust ends in fire. Some falls quietly, becoming part of soil, part of oceans, part of life. It mixes with our air, settles on our skin, enters our lungs. We breathe alien dust without knowing it. We carry it in our blood without noticing. This is not frightening. It is intimate. It is the way the universe reminds us that we are not separate, that we are woven from the same threads as the stars. Atlas's dust, if it mingles with Earth, will join this cycle too, its atoms becoming part of rivers, forests, and even people. What could be more poetic than to think that we are, in part, the children of alien dust? The echoes stretch beyond our planet. Mars too is dusted by cometary grains. So are the icy moons of Jupiter, the surface of Saturn's rings, the wide plains of Pluto. Wherever comets pass, they leave trails, gifts scattered, without judgment, shared with every world they touch. This universality is another echo, the reminder that the cosmos is generous. It shares its dust freely, without boundaries, without borders. Atlas, in its fading, gave back to this generosity, scattering its particles into the solar sea, letting them wander, letting them find new homes. The act of dissolving was itself a gift. To think of alien dust is to think of memory. Atoms do not forget. They carry within them the imprints of their origins. A grain forged in a supernova remembers heat and force. A grain condensed in a comet remembers cold and silence. When we study these grains, we are reading those memories, not in human words, but in the alignments of molecules, the balance of isotopes, the shimmer of spectra. Atlas's dust, though unseen, holds such memories still, waiting for instruments, or for fire, or for the gentle settling of time. It speaks in patience, reminding us that the universe's timescales are wider than our own. Patience is perhaps the deepest lesson of alien dust. A comet may take millions of years to complete its orbit. A grain may drift for billions before joining a new world. Compared to these spans, our lives are heartbeats, brief flickers in the dark. Yet in those flickers we notice, we wonder, we write, we remember. We become part of the echo. Atlas may never return, but our noticing of it ensures that it's not lost. Its dust carries on in silence, and our stories carry on in sound. Together they weave the larger fabric of remembrance where silence and speech coexist. So let the story of Atlas's dust end not with loss, but with belonging. The comet has passed, its fragments scattered, its glow dimmed. Yet what remains is not absence. What remains is connection to the galaxy, to the stars, to the grains that move through our skies. Each echo of alien dust is a thread in this vast tapestry. Each grain is a reminder that we are not apart from the cosmos, but made of it, carrying its whispers in our very bones. Atlas's voice is still with us, quiet but enduring. a part of the eternal poem written in dust and light. Stone seems silent, but within it, oceans may sleep. The rocks beneath our feet, hard and ancient, are not empty. They hold water, locked in minerals, bound in crystals, hidden in pores so small no eye can see. This secret reservoir, deep and quiet, is one of Earth's greatest mysteries. For when we think of oceans, we picture wide blue horizons, waves curling against shores, tides breathing with the moon. Yet the greatest ocean may not be on the surface at all. It may be hidden in stone, vast and enduring, a sea beneath the crust, whispering of the planet's secret life. Imagine descending far below the surface, past soil, past caverns, past roots of mountains. The air grows heavy, the light fades, the stone grows warm. Here in the mantle, minerals form crystals that cradle water within their lattices. Not free water, not flowing streams, but molecules held tight, oxygen and hydrogen bonded in the embrace of stone. The mineral ringwoodite, for example, discovered in tiny diamonds lifted from deep earth, carries within it enough water to fill oceans. Scientists now believe that deep within the mantle lies a hidden sea, 3 times larger than all the surface oceans combined. It is not an ocean of waves, but of potential, water sleeping in the heart of rock. This hidden ocean is not just curiosity, it is vital. The cycling of water between surface and mantle shapes the climate, feeds volcanoes, drives the slow dance of tectonic plates. Without it, Earth's surface might be barren, its seas long evaporated. The deep ocean in stone acts as a reservoir, storing water for ages, releasing it through eruptions, absorbing it through subduction. It is a quiet rhythm, too slow for human senses, but essential for life. Atlas, as an alien visitor, reminded us of this hidden story. For comets carry water too, frozen on the outside, free and glittering when warmed. Earth stones carry water inside, frozen in a deeper sense, locked away but always present. To think of water in stone is to rethink what we mean by ocean. Oceans are not only the rolling seas of Earth, they can be underground, beneath ice within planets. Europa has an ocean hidden beneath its frozen crust, warmed by a tidal flexing, a sea that may cradle life in the dark. Enceladus sprays its hidden sea into space through geysers, a whisper of salt and ice revealed in Saturn's rings. Even Mars, now dry, carries hints of past oceans, some of which may still hide beneath its dust. And Earth itself, so rich in visible waters, may be richer still in the oceans we cannot see. To stand on solid ground is to stand atop seas, unknown, vast and silent, waiting. The poetry of hidden oceans is that they remind us the universe is full of secrets. What seems solid may be full, what seems empty may be alive. A stone held in the hand may contain the same molecules that fill a wave. A desert planet, scorched and bare, may still carry oceans deep within. Even comets, those wanderers of the sky, are stones of a kind, and within them, ice waits like a frozen ocean. Atlas was one such stone, and as it neared the sun, its secret water was revealed in vapour and light. Earth does the same, though more quietly, whispering through minerals instead of tales. This hidden water also carries echoes of origins. When Earth formed, its surface was molten, its seas absent. Where did the oceans come from? Some say comets brought them, their icy cargo falling as rain. Others say the water was always here, bound in the mantle from the beginning. released slowly as the crust cooled. Perhaps the truth is both. Comets delivered some, stone held some, together making the seas we know today. If so, then oceans are both gifts from the stars and gifts from within. They are alien and native, external and internal, both arriving from the sky and rising from the stone beneath our feet. To walk along a beach, hearing waves, smelling salt, feeling spray, is to stand at the meeting point of these two gifts. Above you, comets once fell, scattering ice. Below you, minerals still hold hidden seas. You are between two sources, two kinds of ocean, two voices in Earth's long song. The visible sea and the invisible sea speak together, reminding us that water is not fragile, not fleeting, but resilient, persistent, enduring, in forms we do not always recognize. It hides when the surface is dry. It emerges when the crust yields. It travels in comets, in stones, in air, in life itself. To listen to water's story is to hear the story of resilience. And so, as we begin this tale of the ocean hidden in stone, we enter a place of mystery. It is not a place of waves and light, but of pressure and heat, of silence and patience. It is a sea without surface, an ocean without horizon, yet it may be the greatest of all. To imagine it is to imagine Earth as more than it appears, more than land and sea, more than continents and tides. Earth is a water world through and through, its heart as soaked as its skin. And in this hidden ocean lies the key to life's endurance, the secret that even when seas vanish, water endures, waiting in stone, ready to rise again. The ocean hidden in stone is not a surface we can sail, not a horizon we can watch, but it is just as real as the seas we know. To understand it, we must think differently about what an ocean is. Water does not need to lie in waves under the open sky to be called an ocean. It can be stored in crystals, locked in lattices, dispersed in pores deep beneath mountains. In the mantle, minerals such as ringwoodite, wadsleyite and perovskite cradle water in their very structure. This is not liquid in the way we drink or swim. It is molecules bonded into the fabric of rock, yet present in such abundance that their total volume rivals or surpasses the visible seas. This hidden ocean is not an idea. It is measured in diamonds and in seismic waves, real and immense. When geologists study earthquakes, they trace how seismic waves travel through Earth's layers. The waves move differently through dry rock than through wet rock, differently through solid than through molten. In these shifts, they find hints of water deep below. The mantle trembles not only with stone, but with whispers of moisture. Each tremor is like a stethoscope against the heart of the planet, listening for the quiet pulse of hidden seas. Over decades of such listening, evidence grew until the picture was clear. Earth holds oceans inside itself, silent and vast, reservoirs of time. This deep water is part of the great cycle. On the surface, water evaporates, falls as rain, flows through rivers, pools in oceans, but beneath it also cycles. At subduction zones, slabs of ocean crust are dragged down into the mantle, carrying water with them. That water binds into minerals under pressure, travelling deeper still. Later, when rocks melt, when volcanoes erupt, some of that hidden water is released back to the surface. The Earth drinks and exhales in a rhythm far slower than seasons or centuries, yet as steady as breath. Without this cycle, oceans might long ago have vanished to space, lost to sunlight and solar wind. The ocean in stone is a safeguard, a reservoir that ensures Earth remains blue. Atlas reminded us of this by contrast. Its water was fragile, held only as ice near the surface. As it approached the sun, warmth stripped it away. Vapour rose, tails formed, fragments scattered. Nothing held the water safe. Once lost, it was gone. Earth too would lose its oceans if not for the mantle. Our surface seas alone are vulnerable. Sunlight slowly drives water upward, splitting molecules, letting hydrogen escape. But deep within, the hidden ocean replaces what is lost. In this way, stone is the protector of water, rock the cradle of seas. Without the silent reservoirs, Earth might look like Mars, dry, scarred, with only whispers of oceans long gone. To imagine oceans in stone is to expand our sense of life's possibilities. Other worlds may hold hidden seas too. Mars may carry brines beneath its dust. Europa holds an ocean beneath its ice, warmed by tides. Enceladus sprays its secrecy into space. Even small bodies like asteroids contain hydrated minerals, crystals that once locked water inside. The universe is wetter than it looks, not because water always flows, but because water always hides, waiting. If life can thrive wherever there is water, then hidden oceans are hope. They are reservoirs of possibility, places where biology may bloom unseen, nourished in silence. There is poetry in this hiddenness. Oceans on the surface proclaim themselves. They shine under the sun, they roar against cliffs, they foam in storms. Oceans in stone keep quiet. They endure without display, without sound. They are content to exist unseen, to serve their role in the long rhythm of planets. This duality mirrors our own lives. Some parts shine in the open, some remain hidden within. Both are essential. Just as Earth's surface seas nourish its landscapes, its hidden seas stabilize its core. Just as our visible lives connect us to others, our inner reservoirs sustain us. The hidden ocean of stone is Earth's inner life, steady and patient, rarely glimpsed yet indispensable. Scientists dream of reaching these waters, of finding ways to probe deeper, to drill farther, to listen more closely. But the mantle is vast. Its depths beyond our tools for now. We know it only in fragments, in diamonds carried up by volcanic eruptions, in subtle tremors that ripple through. Each discovery is a glimpse of a hidden sea too great for direct touch. This is a reminder of humility. We do not need to see everything to know it exists. Sometimes evidence gathers like droplets until it forms a tide of truth. The hidden ocean is such a tide, slow, unseen, yet undeniable. To reflect on the ocean hidden in stone is to see Earth as layered with secrets. Beneath our feet lies not only rock but water. Beneath our seas lies not only crust but more ocean still. We live on the skin of a planet soaked through with hidden reservoirs. This truth reshapes how we see habitability. A world may appear dry on its surface and yet carry seas within. Life may thrive not in open waters but in hidden ones, nourished by heat and minerals in the dark. In this way, the mantle's ocean connects us to the wider cosmos, to exoplanets and moons that may cradle their own secrets. And so, the hidden ocean is both scientific and poetic. It is measured in minerals, but it is felt in wonder. It is real, but it is also metaphor. It tells us that what matters most is not always what is visible, that resilience often hides deep within. Earth's surface seas rise and fall, but the ocean in stone remains, a steady guardian. In this, Earth teaches us that hidden strength is as essential as outward beauty, and Atlas, in its fleeting brilliance, reminds us that without such hidden reservoirs, oceans are lost. To see both is to see the balance between fragility and endurance, a balance that shapes not only worlds but life itself. To end the story of the ocean hidden in stone, we must listen to what it teaches beyond geology, beyond chemistry, beyond science itself. It teaches patience. The water within rock does not rush. It is held for millions, even billions of years, locked in lattices, released only in deep time through volcanic breath or tectonic movement. In this patience lies a lesson for us. We are quick, our lives brief, our oceans of thought stirred by days and decades. But the planet's hidden seas remind us that some reservoirs are meant to last, that some strengths lie not in motion but in endurance. This endurance gives Earth its balance. Our visible seas dance in tides, storms and currents, always moving, always changing. They mirror our surface lives, full of change, full of drama. Yet beneath, the hidden ocean waits, unshaken by storms, untroubled by waves. It is a steady core, a silent counterpart to the restless surface. Perhaps we too need such hidden oceans within ourselves, reservoirs of calm that hold us steady when the surface of life grows wild. The planet shows us this truth quietly. Depth steadies change, silence strengthens song, hiddenness supports expression. The ocean in stone also speaks of connection. Water cycles not only through rivers and clouds, but through mantle and crust. Every raindrop that falls is part of this cycle. It may seep into soil, travel underground, find its way into subduction zones, and descend into the mantle's embrace. There it rests for ages before rising again through eruptions, through steam, through lava that cools into new rock. The water in your glass may have once slept in the deep earth. The ocean you swim in may have roots in hidden seas below. The visible and the invisible are not separate. They are one ocean, one circulation, one story told in many forms. To imagine other worlds is to expand this vision. Exoplanets may carry hidden oceans beneath their crusts. Some may seem barren, but beneath stone or ice, seas may whisper. Moons may glow with geysers because of hidden depths. Planets we call lifeless may cradle water beyond our reach. If life requires water, then hidden oceans extend the stage for its play. The galaxy may be richer than we think, not with seas like ours, but with seas unseen, waiting in silence. Earth's hidden ocean is not only our reservoir, it is our model, our reminder that water hides as well as shines, and that life may do the same. There is a poetry in thinking that beneath mountains and continents, entire seas exist unseen. To stand on a stone path, to walk across a plain, is to tread above hidden waters. You do not hear them, you do not feel them, yet they are there, vast and steady. It changes how we see the ground beneath us. Stone is not empty, it is full. The earth itself is not dry at heart, it is soaked, saturated, alive with hidden reservoirs. To live on such a planet is to live on a paradox, solid beneath but fluid within, quiet above but deep with movement below. The hidden ocean also speaks of origins and futures. Perhaps water was always within Earth, part of its very formation, held in minerals since the beginning. Perhaps it is the reason oceans could form at the surface at all, the reason life could bloom. And in the future, when surface oceans may wane, when sunlight grows too strong, the mantle's reservoirs may release their stores once more, extending Earth's habitability. The hidden ocean is both past and future, both memory and promise. It ties the story of beginnings to the story of endurance, showing that what is hidden is often what sustains. Atlas offered a contrast. Its water was surface-bound, fragile, easy to lose. In its vapor, we saw what happens when water lacks depth, when it cannot hide. The comet blazed briefly, then broke. Earth, with its hidden seas, endures. From this, we learn that survival is not only about what shines, but about what is stored, protected, hidden in science. Planets, like people, must carry strength within. Without reservoirs, brilliance fades. With reservoirs, even fragility can last for ages. The ocean in stone is Earth's quiet brilliance, its hidden strength, its soft promise to life. So let the closing thought drift gently. Oceans are not always where we expect them. They may not roar, they may not glimmer, they may not stretch to horizons. Sometimes they are folded into stone, patient and silent, yet they are no less real, no less vast, no less essential. Earth's hidden ocean hums beneath our feet even now, unseen yet sustaining, unheard yet enduring. To live upon this planet is to walk above a secret sea, to be nourished by a reservoir we cannot see, to belong to a story that is both visible and invisible. And in this belonging, we learn that the greatest strengths are often the quietest, that the deepest oceans are sometimes those we never see. The sky feels like a ceiling, a dome arched above us. Yet in truth it has no walls, no edges, no true boundaries. What we call sky is only the nearest part of space, softened by air and coloured by light. When the sun sets, the dome opens and we see through. Stars scattered like seeds across an endless field. To say the sky has boundaries is only to describe the limits of our own sight. The universe itself has none. And sometimes when we watch the heavens carefully, when a comet passes or an aurora flows, we feel the truth of it. The sky forgets its boundaries and becomes infinite again. Air, our atmosphere, is the first layer of this illusion. It scatters sunlight, painting the day blue, the evening red, the twilight violet. It bends starlight, it shimmers with heat, it moves in winds that carry scents and songs. But above 50 miles, the air thins until it can no longer hold colour. Darkness replaces blue. Stars pierce through, even in daylight if you rise high enough. At the edge of atmosphere, Earth's sky ends and space begins. Yet to the eye, there is no sharp line. It is a blending, a fading, a reminder that boundaries are not always where we think they are. The sky is a gradient, not a wall. When we think of boundaries, we think of separations. Earth below, space above, sea here, land there. Yet nature does not always obey such neat divisions. Oceans seep into stone, rivers vanish into deserts, air merges into space. The boundaries are softer than we imagine. The same is true of the sky. It does not truly end, it only becomes thinner, quieter, more transparent, until there is nothing left to call sky at all. When the sky forgets its boundaries, we glimpse continuity. Earth and cosmos are not two separate realms, but one connected expanse, stretching from soil beneath our feet to galaxies beyond imagination. Atlas reminded us of this when it appeared. A comet is a messenger from beyond, but when it passes through our atmosphere of thought, it becomes part of our sky. For weeks, it was neither wholly alien nor wholly ours. It blurred the line between the solar system and interstellar space. Its dust mingled with our air, its light merged with our stars, its orbit curved around our sun. In its brief visit, the sky ceased to be only Earth's and became part of the galaxy. Boundaries dissolved, the dome opened, infinity poured in. There is comfort in thinking the sky is closed, that it shelters us, that it ends where our sight ends. But there is also freedom in realizing that this is illusion. To breathe air is to touch what was once space. To see stars is to see through the atmosphere's veil. The sky is not a roof, it is a window. And when we look long enough, when we let our gaze stretch beyond familiar constellations, we feel the truth. The sky is only the nearest part of a much larger sea. The boundary is only in our minds. This is why people through ages have looked upward for meaning. The sky has always invited imagination because it seems both near and infinite, both tangible and unreachable. To say the heavens is to acknowledge this duality. Sometimes they feel close, stitched with myth, responsive to prayer. Other times they feel vast, unyielding, silent. But both feelings come from the same truth. The sky forgets its boundaries. It can be personal and universal at once, intimate and cosmic at the same time. Atlas, a faint streak across the dark, carried this lesson. It was a reminder that our dome is open, that our world is not sealed, that visitors pass and messages drift between stars. So let us begin this final story by remembering that boundaries are illusions. The sky is not an end, but a beginning. Its edges are only thresholds, invitations to look deeper. To see the sky without boundaries is to see ourselves as part of the universe, not apart from it. To live beneath such a sky is to live within infinity, sheltered yet uncontained. And to feel this, even for a moment, is to know wonder in its purest form. The sky without boundaries is a sky that teaches us continuity. When we look upward, we do not see a ceiling, we see layers of time. Every star is a memory, its light travelling for years, centuries, millennia before it reaches us. To look into the night sky is to look back into history, to witness the glow of suns long gone, to feel the presence of galaxies billions of years away. There is no wall that ends our vision, only the limits of distance and the patience of light. The sky forgets its boundaries because it has none. It stretches endlessly, a tapestry of time woven with starlight. Our atmosphere is a threshold, but it is not a border. Above the clouds, auroras shimmer in green and violet curtains, proof that space touches us even here. Solar wind flowing from the sun collides with Earth's magnetic field, painting the sky with charged particles. These auroras are a reminder that what we call Earth and what we call cosmos are not separate. The universe breathes upon us, and our sky responds with colour. Boundaries dissolve in light and magnetism. The same is true when meteors streak across the dark. They begin as stones adrift in space, but in fire they become part of our sky. The division between beyond and here is not sharp, it is porous, fluid, alive. Atlas was a lesson in this porosity. Born beyond, carried through interstellar reaches, it entered our solar system and became part of our sky. For a time we looked upon it with the same eyes we use for planets, for stars, for the moon. It was both alien and familiar, both stranger and neighbour. And in that duality it showed us that boundaries are human inventions. To the cosmos there is no here and there. There is only movement, only flow. Atlas flowed into our awareness and then flowed out again as natural as tides. The sky held it briefly, then released it, like a wave letting go of foam. The language of boundaries extends beyond astronomy. We imagine edges everywhere, between body and soul, between self and other, between life and death. Yet the sky, with its endlessness, asks us to reconsider. Perhaps these edges are softer. Perhaps they are thresholds instead of walls. Just as atmosphere blurs into space, perhaps self blurs into world. Perhaps life blurs into what follows. The lesson is not to erase difference, but to see continuity, to see that separation is never absolute. The sky reminds us that everything connects, everything flows into something greater. Scientists often speak of the heliosphere, the great bubble of particles blown by our sun, stretching far beyond Pluto. For a long time this seemed like a boundary, the edge of our solar system, but spacecraft like Voyager have crossed it, and even there, space continues. Beyond the sun's bubble, the galaxy's winds take over. Another gradient, another blending, another reminder that edges are always wider than we think. Even the edge of the observable universe is not an end. It is only the point where light has not yet had time to reach us. Beyond it, more continues, unseen but real. There are no final walls, only horizons. This dissolving of boundaries shapes how we see ourselves. To live under a sky with no true edge is to accept that we are part of something infinite. It is humbling yet also comforting. Humbling because we are small compared to such immensity. Comforting because we are not excluded. The same matter that burns in stars burns in us. The same light that shines in galaxies shines in our eyes. The same dust that drifts between worlds drifts through our air. The sky without boundaries tells us that belonging is not earned, it is inherent. We are already part of the whole. Atlas, fading as it left, emphasized this truth. For though it was alien, though it came from beyond, it belonged as soon as we noticed it. It became part of our stories, part of our science, part of our sense of wonder. Boundaries of origin did not matter. What mattered was connection. The way a faint streak of light could bridge millions of years and touch human thought. The comet was not outside or other. It was woven into our sky, and in that weaving, boundaries vanished. What remained was only shared existence, the continuity of all things. When the sky forgets its boundaries, we too can forget ours. We can forget the lines we draw between known and unknown, familiar and strange, us and them. For a moment, we can rest in the larger truth, that everything belongs to the same story, that all boundaries are temporary, that all divisions dissolve in time. To see this is to breathe more freely, to live with more openness, to feel less alone. The sky without boundaries is not only an astronomical truth, it is a spiritual invitation, a call to widen our vision, to soften our edges, to live as though infinity is always near, because it is. The story of a sky without boundaries closes as gently as it began, in the soft realization that infinity is always above us, around us, within us. The dome we imagine is only a veil of atmosphere, a fragile film that scatters sunlight. Beyond it, the universe continues without pause, without walls, without end. To live beneath such a sky is to live within a paradox, sheltered yet open, fragile yet infinite, This paradox is not something to solve, but something to rest within, like lying on grass at night and letting your gaze drift until it feels as though you are falling upward into the stars. In that upward drift, we begin to see that boundaries are stories we tell ourselves to feel secure. The sky appears to end at the horizon, but the horizon is only where our eyes stop. The sky appears to end at the edge of air, but air thins gradually until it is gone. The solar system appears to end where the sun's wind slows, but even there, interstellar winds carry on. The universe appears to end at the edge of what we can see, but beyond that edge, more unfolds. Every boundary dissolves when looked at closely. Every edge is a door. Every limit is an invitation to wonder. Atlas embodied this lesson. It was not ours, not born of our sun, not part of our planetary family. Yet for a brief time it was woven into our sky. We looked upon it and felt connection. Its orbit reminded us that no true border separates stars, only distance, only time. Its fragments reminded us that what crosses the void leaves traces, mingling with our world. Alien dust became our dust. Alien light became part of our night. Atlas showed us that when the sky forgets its boundaries, we too can forget ours, opening ourselves to kinship with the vast. This kinship changes how we live. To see the sky as boundless is to live without the illusion of separateness. The oxygen we breathe was made in stars. The iron in our blood was cast from supernova. The water in our cells was carried by comets and held in stone. The light in our eyes is the same light that shines across galaxies. We are not beneath the sky, we are part of it. The dome is not above us, it includes us. The sky without boundaries teaches that we are not outside the universe observing it. We are the universe observing itself. The boundaries we imagine between day and night, between self and other, between life and death, are also gradients. Night fades into dawn, self fades into family, into community, into earth itself. Life is into memory, into matter, into new life. The cosmos does not recognize the lines we draw. It flows through them, carrying us along. To live with this awareness is to live more gently, to see difference without division, to feel change without fear. The sky is a teacher of softness. It shows us that endings are beginnings in another form, that limits are illusions, that openness is the true state of things. When the ancients looked upward, they told stories of gods and animals painted in constellations. They saw the sky as a canvas, a place where meaning could be written. In a way, they were right. The sky is still a canvas, but what it paints is infinity itself. Modern science does not erase that poetry, it deepens it. We now know the stars are suns, the galaxies are countless, the comets are messengers, the boundaries are none. The more we learn, the wider the canvas grows. Knowledge does not close the sky, it opens it further, layer by layer, until wonder and truth are the same. So let the last vision be this: you, standing beneath a night sky, breathing slowly, eyes lifted. The air around you is thin, fading into nothingness. Beyond it, stars burn with the patient fire. Between them, comets drift, dust scatters, galaxies spiral, light travels. There is no ceiling, no end, only depth upon depth. The sky has forgotten its boundaries, and so have you. In that forgetting, you find belonging. You're not beneath the infinite, you are within it, you always were, and that perhaps is the most peaceful truth of all.